Okay, so think about this. In any crisis, whether it's a fire alarm going off at work or a hurricane warning on the news, there's this hidden danger that gets almost all of us. And it's not the fire or the storm itself. Nope. It's a glitch in our own thinking, a blind spot that can turn something manageable into a total disaster. So today, let's dive into what that is and figure out how our own brains can sometimes be our worst enemy when it comes to survival.
So what is it? What's the single most dangerous thought you could possibly have when a disaster is unfolding? It's a sneaky one because it feels so calm, so reasonable, so reassuring. But trust me, it is absolutely deadly.
And there it is. It won't happen to me. You've probably thought it. I know I have. But this isn't just, being optimistic. It's a powerful and really dangerous cognitive bias. It's that little voice in your head that whispers, "Nah, it's fine," minimizing the threat and telling you everything's okay, even when all the evidence is screaming that it's not.
All right, so this isn't just some random feeling. It's a very specific pattern our brains follow. And if we're going to learn how to fight it, we've got to know exactly what we're up against. Let's define our default danger.
So here's the official term for it: normalcy bias. Basically, it's our brain's default setting to assume that just because something bad hasn't happened before, it never will. This bias makes us totally underestimate the real danger we're in, and that leads to us being unprepared for pretty much anything, from a hurricane to a financial crisis. So here's the big takeaway. That gut feeling you have in a crisis, the one telling you to just chill, that everything's going to be fine, yeah, that's probably dead wrong.
And get this isn't some rare thing that only affects a few people. No way. Reports show that a staggering 80% of people show signs of normalcy bias during a disaster. 80%! So what does that really mean? It means that in an emergency, the vast majority of people around you aren't going to be overreacting, they're going to be dangerously underreacting.
This bias is so common, it actually has a bunch of different names. Each one kind of highlights a different dangerous part of it. You've got analysis paralysis. That's when you just get stuck thinking and can't actually do anything. Then there's the ostrich effect, which is exactly what it sounds like, just burying your head in the sand. And first responders, they have a name for it too: negative panic. That's when you see that creepy, frozen calm in people when they should be running for their lives.
So how does this mental trap actually snapshot on us? Well, it turns out it happens in 3 pretty distinct phases. It's a predictable sequence that our brains almost always follow in those first critical moments of a crisis.
Okay, so the researcher Amanda Ripley breaks it down like this. Phase 1 is denial. Think about it. Even when you're calm, it takes your brain a good 8 to 10 seconds just to process something new. Now add a major threat to that time stretches way out and we literally just don't believe what's happening. Then comes phase 2, deliberation. Now if you don't already have a plan in your head, this is where things get really bad. Your brain gets flooded with stress hormones, you get tunnel vision, time feels like it's crawling, and your ability to think straight just nosedives. And finally, you hit phase 3, the decisive moment. This is it, you have to act, right now. Normalcy bias is what traps us in those first 2 phases, just burning through precious seconds that we desperately need to survive.
And look, don't think this is just something that happens in huge, epic disasters. It hits us just as hard in those sudden, personal emergencies. The writer David McRaney put it perfectly. He said, "Normalcy bias flows into the brain no matter the scale of the problem. It will appear whether you have days and plenty of warning or are blindsided with only seconds between life and death. It's our universal human default."
Okay, so this isn't just some abstract psychological theory. This bias is a pattern that's been written in tragedy all throughout history. Let's look at some real-world examples where this exact mental blind spot turned deadly. Just think about the Titanic. The ship was unsinkable, right? So people literally refused to get into the lifeboats. They just hung around, delaying until it was way too late. Or 9/11. An incredible 70% of the survivors said they spent time milling around, checking with coworkers before they even started to leave. Then you have Hurricane Katrina. People had days of serious warnings, but thousands just wouldn't leave their homes. And it's not just regular folks. Even the experts get hit by this. At Fukushima, the people in charge were absolutely convinced that a multiple reactor meltdown was impossible, so they had no plan for it when it happened. You see the pattern here? It's always the same: disbelief, then delay, and then disaster.
But again, it's not just about these massive historic disasters. This bias pops up in really personal moments too, like a car crash. That little thought, I've never been in a bad accident, it's not going to happen now. That can make us react just a split second too slowly.
The danger is exactly the same, whether you're on a sinking ship or in a skidding car.
Okay, so we've defined the problem, and we've seen some pretty devastating consequences. It's kind of grim, but here's the big question, the important one. How do we fight our own brain's dangerous default setting? Well, the good news is, you can. It is absolutely possible to override this bias.
And the solution is really a 4-stage process. But it all comes down to this first step, preparation. This is the key to everything. Just by acknowledging that a disaster could happen and having a simple plan, you're basically giving your brain a script to follow. It's a mental shortcut. And that lets you blast right through those denial and deliberation phases. So when a clear warning comes, you actually believe it. When the impact happens, you're not frozen. You're already moving, already acting on your plan. And that leaves you in a much better position to handle the aftermath, helping yourself and maybe others too. Honestly, having a plan is the ultimate antidote to getting paralyzed by fear.
So here's what it all comes down to. Knowing about normalcy bias isn't about becoming paranoid or living in fear. It's about being smart. It's about being prepared. It's about knowing that your brain's very first instinct in a crisis might just be the wrong one. So I'll leave you with this. The next time an alarm sounds, the next time a warning flashes on your screen, are you going to be trapped in denial, or will you be ready?